Reykjavik, Iceland. A crisp autumn morning, the 24th of October, 1975. The air, usually alive with the sounds of a city waking, held a strange stillness. Buses, normally packed, rumbled past, empty. Schools stood silent, playgrounds deserted. Factories, the lifeblood of the nation, fell quiet. Even the banks, those bastions of order, struggled to function. Something was different. Iceland's women, mothers, daughters, sisters, had vanished. Well, not vanished exactly. They hadn't disappeared into thin air. They were right where they always were, unseen, undervalued, taken for granted. Only today, they were making sure everyone noticed. Today, Icelandic women were on strike. Iceland, land of Vikings and volcanoes, seemed an unlikely place for a feminist revolution. Yet, beneath the veneer of Nordic progressiveness, a stark reality simmered. Women, though highly educated, earned a fraction of men's wages. Their voices in politics? A whisper in a hurricane. Their lives? An endless cycle of work, both paid and the unpaid kind that mysteriously never seemed to end. Cooking, cleaning, caring. It was 1975, for goodness sake. Even disco had evolved beyond its primitive state. Surely, it was time for Iceland to join the party. This wasn't some radical uprising, no burning bras or angry chants. This was different. This was a kvenefridagurin, a women's day off, an idea so simple, so brilliant, it could only have been hatched by women juggling jobs, families, and a society that hadn't quite grasped the memo about equality. No work, paid or unpaid, just for one day. Just to show Iceland what life without women would look like. The message was clear. This isn't a favour, fellas. This is what we do, every single day. Ready to give it a try? Anin sinstran. Sesi dwen session mam, my highs ini ga. I. At first, the idea was met with amusement. Women downing tools. Who would pack the lunches, answer the phones, keep the country running? But the whispers of dissent soon became a roar. Women from all walks of life, teachers and factory workers, nurses and bank clerks, housewives and politicians, united. This wasn't about left or right, it was about right and wrong. Leaflets were printed, meetings held in hushed tones. The excitement was palpable, tinged with a hint of nervousness. What if nobody noticed? What if everything continued as normal? Then, the day arrived. The streets fell silent. Schools turned into ghost towns. Factories stood idle. Banks resembled museums, except with more confused-looking men. Iceland, for one glorious day, ground to a halt. Well, almost. In Reykjavik, a massive rally pulsed with energy. Tens of thousands of women, their voices echoing through the streets, made their presence felt. This wasn't just about wages or housework. It was about respect, recognition, and a future where their daughters wouldn't have to fight the same battles. The men of Iceland, meanwhile, were getting a crash course in, well, everything. Turns out, keeping a country running was a tad more challenging than they'd anticipated. There was the story of young Bjorn, a factory foreman who found himself trying to soothe his colicky baby, while, at the same time, preventing his older children from turning the living room into, well, a total disaster zone. "I have a new appreciation for my wife," he admitted sheepishly to a reporter, surrounded by toys and a half-eaten sandwich. Then there was Vigdis, a teacher, who stood proudly amongst her fellow protesters, a hand-painted banner held high. "My mother, my grandmother, they fought for this," she declared, her voice just filled with emotion. "Today, we take a stand, not just for ourselves, but for all the women who will come after us." The impact was immediate. Politicians, suddenly aware of the silent majority they'd been ignoring, scrambled to respond. Within a year, Iceland had passed a law guaranteeing equal pay. New family-friendly policies emerged. Childcare became more accessible. The ground had shifted, and there was really no going back. The day off, you see, had achieved something extraordinary. It had made the invisible visible. It had forced a nation to confront its blind spots, its ingrained biases. And Iceland, to its credit, had listened. The aftershocks of that day reverberated through the decades. Iceland's political landscape transformed. Women's voices grew louder, their representation in parliament soared. In 1980, Iceland elected Vigdís Finnbogadóttir, a divorced single mother, as its president, the first democratically elected female head of state in the world. Take that, patriarchy. The day Iceland stood still wasn't just a strike, it was a wake-up call, a testament to the power of collective action, of women uniting to demand their worth. It proved that sometimes the most revolutionary act is simply to stop, to step back and let the world see just how much is holding it all together. So, the next time someone tells you one person can't make a difference, remind them of the day Iceland stood still. Remind them that change doesn't always happen with a bang, but sometimes with the quiet, determined absence of those who have been invisible for far too long.